Monday morning, we are here to rock and roll with another episode of the podcast. Good morning. How are we, guys? When you are coming into this one live, love you to get into those comments and hashtag I'm here or hashtag replay if indeed you are coming in to watch this one live on replay. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all of our very much appreciated clients. We love the shit out of you guys. And if you're joining into the Better Body Academy podcast for your first time, welcome. Hopefully I can deliver some value here on this Monday morning / Sunday afternoon. We're going to be getting started in this episode in just a touch over 2 minutes. I do apologize, started the clock late, so we'll kick over from that. Guys, how was your weekend? Let us know in the comments what has gone on. Tell us the story of your weekend. Are you back into your training? Did you get over a hump? Are you ready to rock and roll into a new week? Hello, Christopher. Love that I have you in here this morning. My brother from another mother. Here he is. Nicky Friend, the legend. We got Team Hazel and Kenny. How are you guys? Love that I have your company here. Hello, Tez. What's going on, mate? Good morning, brother. All right, guys, we're going to be getting started in this episode in just a touch over a minute and a half. And as the title suggests, this one's going to be all about nighttime snacking. So let us know as the podcast is unfolding, if you've kind of got any questions or comments to add to this discussion, then by all means, let's get stuck into them, and happy to be here this afternoon serving. I'm coming to the end of a 4-day streak without my beautiful wife by my side, minding kids, and I survived. How good. I've got to say this to all of you mums out there who are watching this podcast. Oh my God. I've said this before. Any man that lays a hand on a woman is such a gutless MF. Given what you guys do, let's face it, it's pretty rare for a man to be doing more than a woman in the parenting situation, just by virtue of where the baby comes from. And it's just it's a challenge. And I've got 2 good kids, right? If I had a couple of rat bags, or 3 or 4, I don't know how you guys are doing it. So shout out to all the mums out there that are doing their best. Crushing motherhood. All right, we're going to bring in TikTok and Instagram and go live. Okay, guys, good morning. Let's get this show rolling. All right, here we go. I think we're good. Like I said, guys, hashtag replay, or make sure that you comment along if you've got any questions. Hello, Zachy, my sexy boy. Lovely to see you getting back in here. Hey, Instagram. Hey, TikTok. Let's get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and the unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we are going to be discussing a topic that I know is keeping a lot of you guys stuck as fuck, and that is late night snacking. I'm not just going to give you some solutions, but I'm going to pull apart the mindset around this. Now, I wasn't going to do a podcast this morning at the normal time, and there is a reason for it. If you've not noticed, this afternoon, Australian time, we will be bringing Australia's probably most famous female GP onto the podcast. Now, listen up. You guys that are thinking to yourself, oh, I don't care about menopause, it's not going to affect me. Actually, it is going to affect you. If you've got a woman in your life of any kind, you should be watching this podcast, okay? This doctor has written a book on the whole menopause thing, and I've just finished reading it. And to be honest, as much as I'm floored by what women go through with childbirth, learning more about menopause, because it's become apparent that I definitely need to know more about this, menopause, perimenopause, and what comes with that. My gosh, to all the women out there, like I've said before this podcast started, what you guys go through is incredible. So this podcast is going to be starting at 4:30 Sydney time, which is equation to 7:30 on UK time. Okay? If you are not in Better Body Academy, you need to get over to our free group to catch the podcast, and it's going to be a cracker. Let's get started in today's episode. So the question come through from one of our new and lovely and very happy, vibrant, intelligent lasses, Cherie. She said, how the hell do I avoid late night snacking? Okay, so I want a silent head nod from you guys on Instagram and TikTok if this is bad for you, if you're a late night snacker. And to all you guys watching all around the world, how much of a problem is this for you in your weight management activity, your goals? So what is late night snacking? Let's just keep this basic to start. What is late night snacking? For me, late night snacking, snacking is putting small amounts or grazing. It's probably, I think the nature of which the snacking is coming past when we talk about it in this context is that we don't necessarily want to be doing it, right? We're not snacking because we are pumped to snack. We're snacking because something else is going on, all right? And so late night snacking, what is it? I guess it's after dinner, maybe after desserts, having food that you probably haven't budgeted into your calories. Would that be accurate? Let us know in the comments if that's how you would think about it as. Okay, so then the next question is, why is it even a problem? Who cares about late night snacking? Why is it actually a problem? Well, I think it's a little bit like the way that people think about weekends in their transformation. Here's what most people do. Let me know if this is you, okay? You're so good Monday to about halfway through Thursday. So let's pretend you're trying to eat 2,000 calories. You're bang on 2,000 calories for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then what happens is you get to a Friday afternoon and all of a sudden work maybe might turn off, you go into a bit of a relaxation mode, and then everything starts to kick off. You drop your guard, you're a little bit less protected about your calories, and so what happens is you start to snack, you start to drink, and it let's pretend that you were trying to hit 2,000 calories a day. All of a sudden, you've hit it Monday to Thursday, and then Friday looks a bit like 2,800, 900, and then Saturday is like 3,000, 3,500. That's kind of the way it goes. And then you feel guilty right now. So in Australia, it's Monday morning. Maybe it's kicking in. Maybe you're still deep in it if you're in Europe or North America on a Sunday afternoon, but you're feeling like, oh, I did it again. I overconsumed calories over the weekend. I think that late night snacking works a little bit like that, okay? So what's happening is you've nailed it, 6 o'clock till, say, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock when you've had dinner, and then this beast has come out of you, right? The snack monster. And the snack monster comes and makes you consume the whole tub of ice cream, and you didn't necessarily mean to do that. And you hadn't budgeted for it in your calories. And because you did it, you feel guilty, and it can start this binge style kind of campaign where you have a level of guilt and shame about the fact that, why can't I just stop doing this thing? So we've talked about what it is. We've talked about why it's a problem. So now actually, let's ask ourselves the question, why do we late night snack? Right. I've kind of thought about this afternoon and thought, well, I think there's probably 3 drivers. Okay. 3 drivers of late night snacking. Number 1 is a physiological driver. Okay. We're hungry. It would make sense that as part of your brain's wiring to survive, if you're hungry, your appetite drives you to snack. So the most obvious one of these is that you're hungry. And so you're eating because you've perhaps been in a calorie deficit and you've been restricting calories with the intention of losing weight. The nature of achieving a calorie deficit is you are running out of petrol. And so by running out of petrol, you're causing fat loss. The problem is that if you are stopping too far short of a moderate deficit, for example, let's say that you've been eating at 4,000 calories for as long as you can remember, and all of a sudden you're eating 1,000 calories a day, you're going to be hungry. Okay, so that's the first driver. The second driver is going to be because we're tired, right? Which kind of, I was thinking about, do I separate those two? Because they kind of go hand in hand, right? You're hungry, and the hunger actually running out of fuel causes tiredness. I want you to imagine driving a car and you're pressing your foot down on the accelerator and it's not accelerating. Why is it not accelerating? Because you've run out of fuel. So you're hungry. And so what type of food is your body craving? It's craving the food that's going to provide it fuel as immediately as possible. And that's not going to be chicken breast and broccoli. What is it going to be? Guys, let us know. If you're watching on now as a client, I want to know, what are your your snack fulfilling foods? What are the ones that you always go to? Come on, there's 18 people watching live on our client group. What is it that you always go to? What is it that you guys go to on TikTok and Instagram? My guess is that it's probably ice cream, Arnott's biscuits. A lot of people will get knee deep in a jar of peanut butter. What is it? We've got Jennifer. Jennifer says A, B, C, D. Anybody can dance. So what is it? What is it that's actually that you crave? Okay. The third driver after hunger and tiredness is the one that I think is the case for the majority of people. It's a product of our emotions. Okay. Now I kind of collect these emotions into one bucket and say it's boredom, stress, anger, tension. Mary says chocolate. Dogs over here on TikTok says chocolate chips. Jen says any type of sweets, Haribo. Cole says yogurt. Okay, so we're dealing with this on three levels. Either we're hungry, either we're tired, or more likely, it's this one. We're bored, stressed, angry, and tense. Now, does anyone, let me ask the crowd, just to make sure we're on the same page here, does anyone like being bored? Does anyone like being stressed? Does anyone like being anxious or tense? I'm going to say that this is a definite no. And if that's the case, what naturally do you think the drive is going to be? To move away from that emotional state. If you're tense, you want to get untense. You want to get relaxed. If you're stressed, you want to get de-stressed. You want to be numbed, particularly at the end of the night. Now, snacking is a habit that it's become a well-worn path, okay? I want you to imagine, let's say that you discovered a national park and you were walking through the national park for the first time and there's no paths marked, okay? You just start walking through the bush. That's hard because there's no path marked, right? There's no path carved. Effectively, what's happened is you're walking through the first time, you're pushing trees and branches out of the way, but the facts are it's not a well-worn path. But by the time something becomes a habit, what's happened is in that same national park, you've got a well-worn path. There's no branches in your way, there's no trees in your way. And so what happens is our nervous system has come to understand that this habit is a well-worn path that ends in a predictable reward. Now, what is the predictable reward? The predictable reward is you don't feel the way that you feel anymore, right? So if you feel stressed and you eat, then the predictable reward, because it's become a well-worn path, is that by the end of my craving, by the end of my doing the thing, at the end of the day, guess what? I'm going to get that feeling of numbness. This is why so many people drink alcohol. It's clear. We instantly, if we think about drinking a glass of wine, and I'm not immune to this as well, we think about the fact that, hey, that results in me feeling good at the end of it, right? So I want to revert back to a book inside of Better Body Academy, which we call the Bible. Cherie, if you're watching this, I think you are, you need to pick up a copy of the book Atomic Habits, okay? You guys, have you read it? Let me know in the comments if you've read Atomic Habits. This book is the Bible because underpinning any great physical transformation is a person being able to set fantastic habits, okay? I'm always talking about how fat loss is actually really simple. It's simple as fuck, the science of fat loss. But actually getting and maintaining fat loss is difficult because it's bundled up in a whole lot of difficult things to override, okay? So if you go and use this reference, Atomic Habits, you will go to the system that he talks about in here, which I think is a great way to break it down. He says that the nature of any habit is that it has 4 parts. Listen up, Cherie. It has 4 parts. Number 1 is the cue. Okay? The cue. The thing that you do. I want you to think of the cue as the trigger. Okay? It might be sitting down on the couch. It might be pulling out your laptop. What is the cue that starts the thing? Now, once I go through the 4 parts, it'll make a little bit more sense. The next thing is the craving. So rather than just thinking, oh, ice cream, that's my craving. No, I want you to think about this a little bit on a higher level, okay? The craving is the desire for an internal state change, okay? That's the craving. I feel a certain way. I don't want to feel that way anymore. As an example, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling bored. I'm feeling stressed. I don't want to feel angry, bored, and stressed anymore. That's the craving, okay? The response is the third part to a habit. It's the thing that you do. So what's the thing that you do when the trigger happens? The craving rises up. The thing I do. That's the I eat ice cream. I drink alcohol. The 4th part to this habit line framework is the reward you get. No one inherently wants to eat ice cream, although it is beautiful. The reward you get is a feeling of satisfaction, a feeling of happiness, a feeling of entertainment, a feeling of distraction, okay? A feeling of sleepiness, whatever the reward is. So we're going to break it back down and say there's 4 parts. There is cue, the trigger. There is the craving, the desire for an internal change. There is the response, the thing that you do. And there's the reward you get as a result of the thing that you do. Now, here is where people go wrong. When they try to do something about changing their habits, and I'm so glad Maddie Harvey is joining this podcast because Maddie, for an eternity, you've said, oh man, it's just these cravings that I get at night. Yep. Okay, so what people do wrong is in trying to break the habit, they try to stop the response. They try to just go to the jugular and go cold turkey. They try to just stop doing the thing. Why can't I stop doing this thing? And they struggle with doing the thing. Why can't I just give up the alcohol? Why can't I just stop smoking? It's because you're not actually doing the thing because of the love of the thing. You're doing the thing because of the internal state change that it brings you. Does this make sense so far? So you try to stop eating or snacking. So you try to stop watching Netflix. You try to stop smoking. You try to stop watching porn. But the problem is, you're not doing these things for the activity in itself. To be very frank with you, I'm not trying to, I don't inherently love being on my back masturbating. It's the outcome that you get as a result of the thing that you do. Does this make sense? So if you want to stop the thing, what we're actually got to do is reverse engineer the whole situation, okay? We need to go back to asking ourselves 2 questions that come before the thing, okay? So what are the 2 questions that come before doing the thing? What is the trigger that always cues the craving? Okay? What is the action that always cues the craving that you get? So what I mean here is, what is the trigger that you think about your afternoon? What is the thing that always leads to you feeling this desire for an internal state change? Maybe it's sitting down on the couch in a certain seat. Maybe it is turning on the TV. Maybe that's the trigger. Maybe turning on the TV, as an example, makes you think, holy shit, I'm so bored, there's nothing on Netflix or the TV to watch. You see where I'm going with this? So it's the first thing you ask yourself. What is the trigger that's cueing the craving, the need for an internal state change? As an example, are you tired? Is that cueing the trigger? Are you emotional? Well, rather than try to deal with the response, which is the habit, the thing that you actually do, the snacking, instead, if you're tired, you got to go to the root cause. You got to sleep. So many people are snacking at night because they're tired. It's pretty simple. So they try to stop snacking, but they don't fix their tiredness. They survive on 4 hours a day sleep, which actually becomes a vicious cycle with their weight gain, because when you're tired, not only do you not feel like exercise, you snack late at night time, your willpower is terribly low, and your hormones get so elevated, cortisol, which drives more appetite, which drives more snacking, which makes you feel worse. And so are you tired? Okay. Second thing, are you emotional? So rather than trying to stop snacking, you got to get aware and ask yourself, what am I emotional about? What am I bored about? What am I stressed about? And then you've got to deal with the stress, the boredom, the emotion. I'll just give you 2 examples. Let's say that you are super stressed. Okay. What are you stressed about? I'm stressed about work. Okay, cool. Can I quit my job and find another job? That's the obvious way to eliminate the stress. No, I can't, because I've got to pay the bills and I've got to do this, and this is the only job I can get for the month. Okay, great. How can I deal with my response to the stress? Well, many and varied. Can I take up yoga, some sort of meditation practice? Can I start reading a book? Should I start journaling? What is the thing that's going to help you dial down the stress? So the first question we want to ask is, what is the trigger that's always cueing the craving? Here's a second question, which I think is as good. What is an alternate? If you've identified what the trigger is, what is a different way that I can change the craving? Okay? So, for example, can you change what you eat? Now, the reason that I say this is because I eat dessert every night and I'm not overweight. And I don't think of myself as nighttime snacking, but I eat dessert every night. Why? Because I like to relax if I can. I like the feeling of eating a sweet thing at night. The problem is that the choice that you're making is different perhaps to the one I'm making. So what I get is I can buy them here. They're a 70-calorie banana ice cream ice block that's dipped in a chocolate dip. It's 70 calories. So I probably have that first, and then every second night I'll literally nearly demolish an entire punnet of strawberries or raspberries or blueberries. And so even though it's snacking, you might not consider that snacking because you've attached snacking to being bad. Snacking doesn't have to be bad. Snacking can be an alternative choice. So you can change the way you relate. You can get the craving in a different way. Here is a simple substitution. Stop eating Ben & Jerry's, as an example. If you went to Halo Top ice cream, that is such a simple substitution, and you will 1/3 to half the calories. You're still eating the ice cream, but you're doing half the damage to your calorie intake. Does this make sense? The other thing that you can do is, rather than eat, do something else that gives you the reward. Now, remember, the reward isn't in itself eating ice cream. The reward is the feeling that you're trying to achieve. So when I say what I'm about to say, you're going to say, oh, but that's not satisfying my ice cream. No, it's not your ice cream that you crave. It's the feeling of boredom, avoidance of boredom, stress, avoidance of stress, anxiety, avoidance of anxiety. That's what you're craving. So rather than eat, you can do something else that gives you the reward of not being bored, not being stressed, not being anxious. Does that change the framework? So what could you do? Go for a walk, go to the gym, read a book, effectively distract yourself from thinking that the only way that you can solve the craving is to eat ice cream. That is just the conditioned way. It's the well-worn path. But if you bring to this a level of awareness, all of a sudden you realize you do have different options. Now, inside of Atomic Habits, what the author does so well is talks about changing habits. So go and read this book. Here is what you need to do to change any habit. Okay? Number one, you need to make doing the thing, the response, the thing you don't want to do, you need to make that hard to do. So don't do a shop when you're hungry. We call it perimeter shopping. There is very little on the perimeter of a grocery store that needs to be avoided. What you need to avoid doing is going shopping when you're hungry and going down the aisles, because the aisles becomes like snakes and ladders. Okay? It can put you back and back and back and back. So don't shop when you're hungry, don't go down the aisles, and you don't buy garbage. What you can even do is when you feel the craving come up, you can install a hurdle so that every time you have a craving for ice cream, I have to walk to the shop and get it. And what will happen 9 times out of 10 is by the time you walk to the shop to get it, which is a kilometer or 2 away, you'll have this internal battle of which you say, I don't really want it that much. Or by the time I've walked the 2 kilometers and back, I've distracted myself enough that the craving's gone away. You could even do something like a pattern break, where the moment you feel the craving come up, which is associated with the cue of you sitting on the couch and turning the TV on, that's where we think ice cream, get up and brush your teeth. It sounds ridiculous. And is brushing your teeth as exciting as eating the ice cream? No, of course it's not. But the issue is that you think you're eating the ice cream because you love the taste of ice cream. It's not. You're eating the ice cream because you're trying to satisfy an internal desire to change your state, the craving. So if the craving can be satisfied by you brushing your teeth, and then what happens? That's a totally different habit. You brush your teeth, how do you feel? Does anyone brush their teeth and drink coffee? Does anyone brush their teeth and eat a bunch of ice cream? Not usually, because brushing your teeth is associated with being a good habit. There's a clean mouth. And so we don't want to go and take a shit on something that we just cleaned. Carly said, that's exactly what I do. Bringing this to a close. Awareness, okay? You can't fix anything that you haven't become aware of. So to Cherie, this is great that you brought this question up, because you've seen that you've got this habit that has 4 parts to it. It's got a cue, a trigger that happens. You've got a craving that you want to satisfy. Currently, you're satisfying that craving with a certain way and you're getting a certain reward. But you can actually get the reward in a different way if you make what you don't want to do hard to do, and you make what you should do or maybe want to do instead easy to do. A phrase that I love: awareness is useless if it ends in denial or inaction. So it's actually great to become aware that you've got this thing, But now comes the hard work, Cherie, where you've got to, that 21 days to make a habit, whether it's 21 or 42, it's kind of irrelevant. You've got a nervous system path that's triggering a certain way. We've got to break that and deal with it in a different way. Now, let's go back to the start. There are some actual strategies. If it's hunger-based, which I expect it's not, there are some strategies to deal with the hunger basics. Protein at every meal. Okay? Protein at every meal. Eat less more frequently if you have this tendency to want to snack. So for example, my office is downstairs. Every time I go and get a coffee, which is upstairs, it takes me 20 seconds to walk upstairs. I nearly always pick up a snack. But the snacks that I'm picking up are 50-calorie snacks. Little fruit bars, a protein bar. They're nothing that's like setting my calories alight. You got to stock up on healthy snack options so that you make them easier to do. If you're sitting on the couch and the craving cues and you're like, what am I going to eat? And then your option is a herbal tea and a protein bar, eventually that will become the habit that you will queue up due to the craving and you will get the same reward. And this is typical of someone that's become healthy. They have just managed to link neurally in their nervous system to different strategies to cure a craving. Does that make sense? Guys, I could talk about this on and on and on and on, but hopefully this podcast has given a little bit of a shift. The main takeaway that I think that you should get from this is, rather than try to cold turkey and force a change in the thing that you do, instead understand that all you're trying to do is satisfy a craving. And the craving is a state change that you don't want to feel anymore. I don't want to be emotional. I don't want to be bored. I don't want to feel these things. There is a different way to get the same reward, which is an avoidance of those things. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast. The podcast that you come to in Sick of the Dumb Diets, unsustainable workout programs. Now, if you missed it at the top of the show, we will be back at 4:30 Sydney time, 7:30 p.m. that is, 7:30 a.m. UK time, live in our free and client groups with a really big discussion. I am like more excited about this podcast than I've ever been about any podcast prior. We're bringing on Dr. Ginny, who is Australia's most famous GP, and she's going to be talking to us about perimenopause and menopause and HRT and all of the things. So to all of you guys that catch this podcast, can I just suggest, like, the ladies will do what they want to do, but you should be on this podcast, because if you're 40, 50, 60, you have a partner that's going through these things or will be soon, and you should be understanding what their struggles are going to be so you're better able to be the man that's by their side. Guys, I'll stick around to have a discussion with anyone that wants to play, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you TikTok. See you Instagram. Okay, everyone else, how was that, guys? Was that beneficial? I've got an excellent podcast, thank you. I'm guessing this is Cherie, so I hope so. Guys, talk to me. How was your weekend? Did that help? Is there any kind of realization here about the nature? We just got to understand the nature of the habit first. And once you understand the nature of the habit, you understand that we can satisfy it in a different way. Karina says, I doze off and then wake up, go to bed, and then I get sweet cravings while I'm half asleep. So it's not even stress thing for me. I think it's a delusional state of mind. Yeah, perhaps, but if you're dozing off and then waking up, that in itself says that you're super duper tired and probably, I think you're a mum, right? Running on fumes. That is the trigger. That's the thing that's happening at the start, the cue. Okay? So we can deal with the cue, the tiredness, or you know what? Like, what have you got in your fridge? Like, sometimes as a coach, you've just got to state the obvious. and the state, like, stop buying fucking Tim Tams. Do you know what? Like, stop buying Tim Tams. If you've got Tim Tams in your house, like, I don't have those things in my house. Cordia might, but they're not in my view, so I don't think about them. But I'll tell you what, when on a Friday night every now and then, there's Whole Foods over in Canada. They do up this amazing chocolate mousse, right? It is like real good. And so, chocolate mousse. I just read Karina's comment. Chocolate mousse. If I have that, I will eat that night. So I don't buy 5 chocolate mousses and have them on hand. I'll give you another example. I love a beer, but if I have full calorie beers, if I have a carton of Coronas sitting in the garage, they're going to get drunk. If I have a carton of, firstly, I don't buy cartons. I buy 12 packs, right? So that already is huffing the possible risk of me drinking a carton. And what I do is buy them in 12 packs and I buy low calorie beers. So let's just compare that, because that's a great example. One person buys a crate of Coronas, 160 calories per beer. I buy a half crate of the beers that I buy, and they're 90 calories per beer. I'm still buying beer, but what I'm having when the desire to drink comes up is half the calories of the person that's next to me drinking the full calorie beers. That's just an example of what I mean. Chocolate milk is my killer, Karina says. I blame my kids. Dare I say it, Karina? If you think chocolate milk is a problem for you, then it's probably not great for your kids as well. I don't know. Like, my kids aren't at the age where my kids are 2.5 and 8 months, so they're not craving chocolate milk. But like, just think about what you've got on hand, because I don't think the things that make kids overweight are the same things that make parents overweight. In fact, I understand statistically that one of the greatest challenges for a mum in weight management is actually finishing her kids' meals, because they don't want to waste food, which I totally understand. Jen says, that was helpful. I snack when I'm working. It's task avoidance. Yes, exactly, Jen. It's task avoidance. I don't want to do certain tasks, and boredom of working from home. This is why so many people, as part of the post-COVID culture, work from home, has become overweight, because guess what? You don't have to put on a suit anymore. Right? You don't have to go and look good for anyone. So that's one thing it's become easier to be overweight versus going into an office and having to present some level of self-image that you think is in accordance with who you are. And then the second part to it is that everything's available to you in walking distance. Zaki says, for me, it's stress. Although it doesn't just fall into snacking, I feel like I'm in a constant state of stress. This transfers to overeating most meals, and I find that by me successfully attacking the underlying problems lessens the likelihood of me overeating. Zaki, that is so intuitive, and absolutely you're right, bro. So I mean, this idea of like constant state of stress, isn't that true? Like, that is the world, right? And you think about the things that we're getting stressed about. It's like, in our ancestor days, what was happening was we were getting stressed about dying by being eaten by something much bigger than us. And once that stress had subsided, cortisol came down. So the drive to eat had kind of dissipated. But what happens nowadays is we're stressed by money, we're stressed by lack of time, by the kids, by work, by business, by our side hustle, by the weather, and so what's happening is, if you could monitor our blood cortisol and adrenaline levels, we're just in this hyper state of, and so what that's doing is constantly queuing up the desire to want to eat. Zach, this is the reason why we have to have some form of an awareness practice in our life, I believe. For me, that awareness practice, put simply, is the gym, right? But what is it for you? Is there something that kind of on a daily basis allows you to get up and not react the minute you get up? Because the picture is, for most people, listen up, guys, there's still like 10 of you watching. The picture is this: the moment we wake up, we check our phone, we read something we don't want to read, and that just kicks it all off. And so from moment one, we're kind of going from this deep, beautiful sleep, and then from moment one, we're reacting to things that are external to us rather than controlling our circumstances. Now, I'll put my hand up and say, man, with kids, this is hard not to do. But don't compound that by adding in more things like, for example, your phone. Like, wake up on your terms. It's so powerful. For me, the biggest discovery, which I didn't know how to do before, was on my iPhone, the focus mode, which is just do not disturb. Because I know that the moment I wake up, I'm literally going to have 60 emails, messages in the success team, notifications, people asking me to do things. It's just like, it's an assassination. And if I react to that, instantly when I'm at the gym, I'm just like, oh, fuck, like my mood is gone because I'm so busy thinking about that thing. So you've got to have some level of an awareness practice in your life to try to make sure that you're just not like, it's just not a domino. And what I feel is that if you have a good morning routine, and the morning routine you can set up based on the things that you like to do, you will hear people saying on YouTube, I've got this killer morning routine. Great, but like, what works for you? And if you can do that killer morning routine and that works for you, then you set yourself up. Think of it like you're starting above the line to start the day. Anyway, guys, love your work. Thank you for coming into the podcast. Hopefully it's delivered some value for you this morning, this afternoon, or this evening. I'm going to see you all. Guys, please come into this podcast this afternoon. It's going to be midnight my time, okay? To accommodate the doctor, I'm staying up till midnight, right? So really want to deliver some value. Hopefully you guys can come in and see what this whole thing's all about. Chat to you guys soon.